Good morning, the street professor. I just scratched my head there. I wasn't making any kind of mystical sign or anything. Maybe I should. There are omens afoot. Just a few notes on the situation as we wait to hear the results of the referendum. There's a media blackout ongoing. Nobody's saying nothing about where the votes are, and I didn't have the patience to try and mine my way through Global's site, which is just as bad as NatPo. And I went to CKNW saying maybe they might have a report, and I should maybe look up a Glacier Media paper who might have something. But the Sun and the Province and the NatPo, nobody else, including the Tyee, is saying a damn thing. Now, the thing is that there's an assumption in the fair vote groups, the people supposedly advocating for PR, that, well, we've done our work, that they had 5 weeks to get to Services BC. If they don't vote, it's not our fault. Oh, yes, it is. Oh, yes, it is. So that's just the mailed out people that we're talking about, the 45% returns off the registered voters list. That's not the full voters list. How big that is, I don't know. I'm asking for somebody to find that out for me, because it's all the eligible citizens over the age of 19. That's a huge number, much bigger than the people that have voted before, because you have to remember how much BC has grown. It's been, well, just since last year, between the 18-year-olds, 19-year-olds, and new immigrants, I don't know, but that's got to be at least a few dozen thousand, right? So those are a number of votes, never mind all the people overseas who can't vote in this and probably would like to have some say in the future of their province when they come home, what it will be like. This is what happened to me when I went away and came back into, never mind, I went away and things changed because I didn't have any say in it anyway. None of us did under FPT. None of us have any say under FPTP. And now John Horgan, with his deal with Horgan-Morgan, okay, I wrote about this today, is very, 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 very similar. Won't say much like, because there are differences, but it's very reminiscent of the Pacific scandal with McDonald, who not only had his greasy fingers in places they didn't belong, but he was also on the boards of 2 railways at the same time, one of them competing with the National Railway, which he was supposedly a sponsor of. So that's all on dickshovel.com/2.html and page 2, which is 2.2.html. Fascinating read. Not written by a Canadian, written by a Native American. An analysis of the Canadian conquest and subterfuge, geopolitical subterfuge of Western Canada. The hidden history here has come up in conversations with youth, especially, one of my friends at the gym, his family came here in the 90s, so was the other guy I was talking to, but they're Sikhs, young Sikhs, right? They're born here. They're born here. And one guy didn't get sent ballots, and he's 24. And he worked 3 jobs. There's no way he could have gotten to Service BC. So I want to know in these results, how many of these votes are new voters? Okay, that's a number to look for. And what happened to all the other people who could vote but weren't mailed ballots? So the story with my young friend is, and he understands what's happened here. He's begun to learn what happened to the people and the Native people. And I've been saying, if you don't know your history, it's going to be done unto you again in various forms. I've been saying that tonight too, right? That if you don't know your history, it's going to be repeated upon you. And worse. These are difficult, dangerous times, and we don't live in a bubble. So the reality is that Mr. Horgan and his little diddling with Horgan-Morgan to keep the pipeline fucking happening. Yeah, don't tell me there's no influence there. Don't tell me that the NDP doesn't have another agenda with the pipeline, because they do, just like Justin Jr. does, Pierre Jr. does. Pierre Jr. turned out to have, all right? He's on the same side, and he's in the side of union industrialism and their high pay. They don't care about people living on the streets. They don't want to care about the new communities of brown people with funny accents, even though they're all come from funny accents. Everybody's Ukrainian and Hungarian and Greek and all kinds of things up in the Site C patch, let's call it the dam patch, right? So, anyways, the reality is that any civil turmoil in Canada because the Chilcotin, think about it, the Chilcotin, the Central Coast, the Northwest, probably a little bit Fraser Canyon, probably a lot of the Nicola, any of the native areas. The natives didn't vote in this. And I don't think people here understand the political implications of that. They are the actual title holders of the territory. So for Canada to send in troops, you know, it not only destabilizes the area, it creates like a multi-OCA situation. And whether it's private troops maybe too, also, right? To get that built, or to defend Site C from because people are pissed off about it in ways that Horgan doesn't understand, right? And that's why there's no vote in the North. Why I believe that the Northwest, why the vote was low, if it hasn't gone up since, why it's still low, is because they have seen pipeline proposals, a project where they don't want, and their kids were taken away. The whole Skeena Basin and Bulkley Valley was raped and logged, right? And there's still gold coming out of Tatlatuhi Lake, Siutaiton Lake. I can't remember the name of the mine. It's the source, near the source of the Mackenzie, which is the source of the Finley, which is north of Hazelton. And it's this huge mine, and you have to get into it via a long, long road only from Prince George. Okay, now it's in, let me think, I guess it's in Gitxsan territory. There might be a Nisga'a claim on it too. It might have some Tahltan in that area. It's the Sacred Headwaters, they call it, which is actually the Skeena Spatsizi Stikeen divide area. So anyways, very beautiful area, and it's like set up for fracking and natural gas. It's this whole other part of the province that some foreign company is getting rich off of, while the native people don't get hardly anything. And towns like Hazelton, which is very historic, Hazelton, beautiful place too, right? Very, very historic. 6 major native reserves, the Kassan Fortress, Old Hazelton, New Hazelton, one's a village, the other's a muni or something, district. It has the highest child poverty rate and child illiteracy rate in Canada. And this is an area that has produced billions in timber, billions in ores. Stewart, the premier mine at Stewart, was one of the richest in the world, like Braylorn. It's a famous gold mine. You have to drive into Alaska and get back out again to get to Premier, which is a Canadian ghost town near Stewart, up above the glacier, the Salmon Glacier. That all should have been Canada. That all should have been British Columbia. Hyder. Ketchikan. Yeah, there's a long story. I'm going to do that video on that yet. So anyways, the summing up for this, my young Sikh friend, he's young, and I said, it's not for me to fight for this. You know, you guys, your young people and your community and your friends, he has white friends, and everybody gets along, you know, and they're all Canadians. But they're young, and they don't like hearing that they've been shut out of this vote. So I'm hoping that Gru goes ahead and does what he says, and maybe he talked to my other new brother there, Gary, who's also Sikh, and others that there's others around that are just youth. That I know guys that I would like to say, hey, look, are you going to go vote for this? But I already know that both them and the wife are already got 2 kids and they're juggling daycare. They couldn't get to Services BC, and this vote was about their lives and their kids' lives. It wasn't about the 55-year-old penny pinchers who were concerned about the bottom line on their pensions and their investment plans and the state of the so-called economy. Economy means laws of the household. Ecology means science of the household. More or less. Logos doesn't translate easily. Anyway, so logos and nomos have to urge the oikos, the ecos, the eco world, the economy, the ecology. They have to be the same thing. And that's not going to happen with the Union NDP government because they're industrial resource oriented. All they want is high-paid jobs. They don't care what it is. So I say we give them other kinds of high-paid jobs to shut them up. I say we start building planes. I say we start building ferries. I would say, what the hell, you know? Let's invite if Microsoft and Buffett are here anyway, and their buy-up of their shares were in CN when BC Rail got taken over. So, you know, where is some investment in BC, Bill Gates? Warren, what are you doing other than plutonic power? You know, what are these guys? They're coming here to bootleg. You know, they're coming here to carpetbag. They don't even have to live here because they've got the liberal monkeys to do it for them. And if they don't have the liberal monkeys, they have the NDP jockos, right? The jock boys, right? The guys who told me in Lillooet when I worked for I was a highways worker, BCGU, with a union vote. And there was the shop steward who was the deputy super of forest sitting there as I walked in the place. Was it the provincial election? It might have been that year. It was 79, come to think of it. Telling us at the entrance of the polling place how to vote. That's the NDP method of politics. You know, I saw it in 1983. I won't get into all that. I saw it again. They didn't show any spine politically at all. The Union showed spine. Some the NDP were silent and absent, during the 1983 Solidarity Crisis. They were during Oka too, right? So the NDP, if they were going to settle on Native Claims people, I don't really know why one of the chiefs of Lillooet was thinking about running as a Lillooet candidate, or as an NDP candidate, because the NDP, if they were ever going to settle Native Claims, they would have done that under Harcourt or Clark or Dosanjh. You know, if they were ever going to do that, Dave Barrett would have been talking about it. You know, and they would have fought against the Forest Act of 1976 and going, ooh, look at all those mill jobs. Let me rev up my chainsaw. Let's go buy a truck. Because that's what it was like, the Forest Act. From that point on, I saw my country stripped. And I mean my country. I mean my valley. We all have a country in BC, those of us that are from here. The Fraser Valley is too, but the Canyon and Bridge River country is Seaton. That's my country. You know, it's why I'm a country where I could wish I lived, but I'm way too tall a poppy to live up there. And there's just not enough services and other people for me of the kind. I need some anonymity of all things because I don't go out much. So I'm actually tomorrow, it's 3 feet of snow. I've got to find my thing for a scooter and book to get a handy dart to get myself into Vancouver. I've got to go to housing outreach. I've got as a grand piano I want to go play in Woodward's building. Take some stuff to Pal, and I'm going to go have a look at the Norman and the Danish home, and there's a German one up off Capitol Hill. I thought I wanted Victoria, but I'd take South Burnaby. It's got some sun to it, you know, South Vancouver, and I've got certain very wealthy semi-acquaintances to approach, and one already with a feeler out too, which I won't jinx by saying anything about, and other things, you know, prayers and magic and talking to the heavens. And talking to the young people inspired me here tonight because I get so much attention that they realize that, you know, that guys like me know shit that they need to know. And we're the only ones that do because their parents and the new people, the other people of my generation, they don't know. They're not going to tell them, right? And my friend, he's a business student, and I said, that's the problem with education. You're not actually getting these days. You're not actually getting an education. So I got talking to him. I'm hoping he follows up. I hope he follows up on this legal thing. Because even if there's a charade that the referendum's all over and done with, either way, it might be a squeaker either way, especially if it's a squeaker either way. But even if it's a landslide for PR, which it doesn't look like it is, which says a lot about the vote. It says a lot about the bullshit of who got the vote and who had time to vote. And why the white ridings voted more than the ridings with more colored people. I hate to use that word, but that's the situation. And that's how the white people see it, those other kind. And the blasé bourgeois white progressives, they don't use that term, but they're indifferent as to whether the Sikhs and the Chinese and the Koreans and the Arabs and Farsi, they're indifferent to whether those people vote, and they're really indifferent whether they're young people who are serving them their cappuccinos vote either. They don't care. They do care that their stocks are doing well and their banks are fine and they still have their kids in a good school, but they don't care about anybody else. So that's a big problem in this country. And when it concerns areas of vast wealth like the Skeena Bulkley, a.k.a. Gitxsan-Wet'suwet'en Confederacy, the Valley of the Nisga'a with the Nass, which is just only the Nisga'a the Sims. It should have been a lot more. The devastation in Telegraph Creek, which is tiny but needs provincial investment and attention to repair. And because it's native, it won't get it. You hear me? Right? That's his BC. That's Horgan's BC. Now, I don't know whether the Greens are going to live up to what they say. They're the only party that's fully prepared to recognize, as far as I know, recognize native sovereignty, and let's just get past arguing about it and give them jurisdiction where they want it. It's that simple, and put them back on the map, especially a confederacy that's, I don't know how many 100 years older than it is than the conquest of Canada, but it's a good 200 years older, or 100 years older at least than the conquest of Quebec City by the British. The Pralines of Abraham. It's at least 100 years older than that. This is the Gitxsan-Wet'suwet'en Confederacy. And the Okanagan Confederacy is even older, the Silks, right? So they're all got these things, especially the Kwakwala. The Haida were always at war with each other, but the Kwakwala speakers, Kwakwak is called. It's spelled Kwak, with W, right? But it's Kwakwak. It's kind of how you say it. Them and these were populous peoples with governments and legal systems, legal and traditional systems, and including in those traditional systems was, especially in certain areas, right? And never mind the slave system, we have that here too. But But in modern life, we don't like to admit that that's what it is, but that's what wage slavery is. Low class status. And certain people are the Cheyenne. It's all mirrored, here. It's all the same marks, French Revolution, Egypt, the same top bottom BS. But they're Cheyenne, and I don't know what they call it in Kwakwala. But that whole area should be its own self-governing area. Victoria and Vancouver only have control over it, so they control the fishery and can take the trees and can bugger the children. Well, they don't do that anymore, but they sure did a hell of a lot, didn't they? So that's how you conquer. That's how you conquer the resources. Okay, that's what happened here. And now the new peoples are waking up to this, and they're connecting with the injustice of the past. And I'm really happy to see young people listen to me or learn and go, yeah, I'm figuring this out now, because they're figuring out that if you don't learn your history, there's worse coming. Okay, there is, and we all need to cooperate at it. So anyway, that was an interesting roundup tonight. I was sick, so I'm just going to have some berries and Cheerios. I didn't get done what I had to do today, which was find the form for my scooter, so I would have had it by now if I hadn't done got Victoria, blah, 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 right? And I've got like 3 things to do on Monday. I'm going to book a handy dart, take the train in, or what, and I'll get handy dart all the way in, I guess, to housing outreach and all those other places I mentioned, as many as I can handle, and maybe see a friend about my hair. I'm going to get some styling advice. I'm not going to cut it or anything, but how to trim the beard, what to wear. And hopefully I get the scooter soon. And hopefully I luck out and somewhere, I get a phone call from many things out there possible, or I walk in on something. Yeah, we have a place for you, sir. I'm even thinking of calling the mayor here in Maple Ridge, because they do have an artist in residence program coming up, and I'm not particular about Maple Ridge, and it hasn't been all that good to me, but there's a nice piano here in the summer, and I do have some good friends here who care about me, and I'd miss them. So it would be hard to get settled somewhere else. So if they want a composer, poet, living somewhere here, and somewhere they can say afterwards, this guy lived here, instead of saying, yeah, he was a skid, he was here on welfare, right? Okay, you can have your choice, Maple Ridge, right? You want to be Redneck Hill, or do you want to be where I come from? Because I'm from Ruskin Dam, on the Mission side. But I've been living here, this has become my home. I have friends here now, and, I can help you bring life to the place. But you got to stop treating people that look like me like shit, okay? This tent city is an atrocity, and people who live in their fancy houses and drive cars sniffing their noses at it don't get it. In tent city, the shelter is full of good guys, hardworking guys. I'm glad some of them are in the modular up on the North Street above me. I'm done. I wanted to round up about this thing about the vote and how the young people may, and actually sounds like they will, proceed with court action, because the reality is that this was an unfair vote. That all the new citizens and the new voters, 18 and up, and people who didn't have a vote before and weren't mailed a ballot or told it was going on, are now angry. See? The people in PR and the fair vote groups are going like, well, they had 5 weeks to get to Services BC. And never matter how many times I told them all the reasons people can't do that, or how far it is to Service BC, and why they're not even in some towns. They don't care. They care that we're in this group and we've shared all these memes and we've done what we can. No, if you didn't get out there and go take people by the hand and remind them, that's how you win a campaign. All right, that may have happened on the FBTP side. That's maybe why their numbers are doing so well. And where those numbers would be coming from is union guys who are very hostile to the idea of a green government. I come across them all the time in the last few weeks. I came across them. I don't have anything against them. They're suckered by the media and high-paying checks, and they want high hopes for their kids. But I can get them better jobs if people would listen to me. I can't get them personally, but I see what we can do to change the economy here. And nobody wants to listen to guys like me because I don't have alphabet soup after my name. There are lots of people with alphabet soup after my name that won't listen to either. Robin Allen is one. Great economist, right? And Eric Anderson, who comments on BC Hydro, or was for a while. And, I'm hoping that the deep, dark BC Rail sequel, which is the other side of why Horgan's KM thing stinks is why it stinks, is because BC Rail, he heard about after that, the election, He was surfing. Well, I heard about BC Rail a lot. Yeah, we'll have to look at that. Right, but where is it gone? Nowhere. Why? I have to find the spot in the BC Rail blogs, right? Their legislature raids blog. But somewhere in there is this thing about after the Paul Nettleton stuff. There is this thing about the unions having pension investments in companies connected to CN. Something like that. I'll find what it was, and I'll talk about it on my next video. I won't be making as many of these. I'm trying to be a musician. I'm so grateful for my young friends, including just the ones tonight, and my younger friends out there, and I know what I have to do. But I wanted to keep updating the history, and I wanted to come back and talk specifically about a given election and all the shit that went on. So I'll have to pick one, and I don't just want to pick on Campbell. And right now I feel like, because of this NDP bullshit with Site C and the LNG, and Horgan's bullshit with the referendum, NDP bullshit with the referendum, and now the Kinder-Morgan scandal. I called it the Horgan-Morgan scandal. Is that good? I like that, the Horgan-Morgan scandal. You know, and to hell with Fred Kinder, he's not even part of the equation anymore. He's just a fucking, he's Enron's golem, right? He's this corpse brought back to life, that guy. So I could get sued for some of the things I'm saying. So if somebody get me to another country, it's probably a good idea. You know, but I don't know. I can't go to the U.S. I can't work for Young Turks. I have reasons to go to St. Petersburg, but I don't want to work for RT. Well, I won't lick Putin's. You know, I wasn't gonna say what you thought I was. Russia's a dangerous place for guys like me too. But maybe St. Petersburg isn't. I'm a composer. You know, I'm a composer and poet, and somebody like me won't get treated like crap in Russia. Same with my Yugoslav friend said about Belgrade. Nobody would treat me like crap in Russia or Greece or Yugoslavia or Italy. Never mind the long hair and the missing teeth, just because I'm educated and play nice piano, you know, and can converse. I'm educated. Here, having an education has been a curse. It's why I'm broke, is because I know too damn much. And I like to talk, and I'm friendly, and being friendly here. Oh man, you're weird. Why don't you just chill out? And don't worry about those people who don't vote. It's their problem. Well, South Carolina North is starting to really piss me off, right? And I hope my native friends understand everything that I'm saying, how much I'm on their side. And I'm very grateful that the Sikh community, youth and elder, clue in here, right? And a lot of the Chinese are cluing in, right? And other people that are new here, the Romanian lady and the Mexican lady I met and so on. And the Serbians here also, they're all really active, and everybody's, you know, apparently the mosques are really, people go like, oh, the mosques are politicized. Yeah, like the Baptist and Pentecostal and Mennonite churches aren't politicized, okay? So religious politics is already here, and it's called white power, and one flavor of it's orange and the other flavor of it's blue, okay? And that's really what it's about here, right? So now it's the case now there's a little bit of green in the equation. But the Green Party won't really have any long-term credibility unless it gets the native community to say, okay, we'll take you at your word, so this is what we want. And no more negotiation. Right? Chilcotin should have had a lot more than they got. Slatlium should have everything they want. They got some from Hydro, not enough. Right? The Halsik, the Haida, all of them, they've already kind of laid down the line, the Chalnut, all of them. Right? So, okay, let's stop arguing. Right? And let's stop letting foreign countries run the place, right? That the people in British Columbia run the place. The difficulty with that is, this involves getting in the way of not just international unions, largely American-controlled, which is the other thing about the NDP. Their alliance with the AFL-CIO, it's there somewhere. Don't tell me it's not. And then you have on the other side, which is why the Democratic Party won't do anything here at all, where the Republicans are rampant in Canada in terms of their activities. Democrats keep their hands off politics. Maybe that's why Amy Goodman and Young Turks won't talk to me, because that Democratic connection, I don't know, to the NDP, I don't know. Right? If they're connected with liberals, the Democrats go, but yeah, so we're somewhere that if there's turmoil here and there's any disturbance, as I commented tonight and writing to my friend John Kidder in Merritt, or Ashcroft rather, if there's any civil disturbance here, just like there was in 1983, and there was a risk of U.S. troops intervening, the risk is a soft way to put that. There was a threat. If there's a risk of that, then it's going to happen if there's resistance. And I said, you know, my Yugoslav friends are right. People here don't realize how serious the native resistance is to the pipeline, right? That it's all too easy for Merritt or Coldwater to become a Sarajevo or Blue River or Clearwater, for Kamloops to become a Vukovar. It can happen here, folks. That's what my Yugoslav friends are terrified of. They saw all this going down in Yugoslavia. They got out before it went down. They saw it happen and they watched from afar as it went down. It was because people didn't know their history and didn't know the impact of their history on others within their same community. And this caused the great night of dark terror in Bosnia, which launched the Bosnian War, and the war for Knin and the Krajina, and the war for Slavonia. And the horrible things that happened and as I said, you know, the village, the cities and the towns, there's towns actually in the Sanjak, which is the area between Montenegro and Serbia, on the one way, and between Bosnia and Albania on the other. It's sort of an old Turkic area, Muslim area, in other words. So where will be, as I said in my post online, where will be our Srebrenica? Where will be our Gorazde? Probably those will happen in the States first, but it could well be that civil turmoil here is what touches off instability in the U.S. if Trudeau does something really stupid and sends in troops, or Horgan does something like let the Chinese send in private security, some bizarre thing like that. But the reality is that as what happened with Oka when the boom was lowered both on News World and on the Mohawks, on the Ghanaian Gaga, on the Haudenosaunee and the Mohawk warriors, when the boom was lowered, it was done. When the world's eyes were on Kuwait and the myths of Kuwaiti babies being skewered by Iraqi troops, and thus was born George Bush's Great Gulf War. Now, sure, Saddam invaded Kuwait, but you know what? The Emir of Kuwait was never a nice guy. It's a nice place now, you know, but I mean, the only reason that Kuwait was separate because the British wanted to exploit it more. That's why it was never part of the mandate of Iraq. I know Iraq is a mandate of British Mesopotamia. People keep on going to, well, it's incorrectly called Mesopotamia. No. Meso means between the rivers. And Iraq means between, and Rak means river. It's the same name, just in Arabic instead of Greek, right? So people, that's what I say about people who don't know their history are dooming themselves to ignorance. And I feel I'm doing double time out here on the edge of civilization, and I call it the frontier of ignorance. You know, I'm at the edge of the civilization and the maw, the destructive force on nature that causes all these, back home in the heartlands, causes these terrible wars and famines and population movements and all that stuff in the Middle East, and those people dying in the Mediterranean and elsewhere. And the people, you know, people leaving Guatemala aren't just leaving for famine and violence. There's that volcano happening there too, right? The Americans think they live in a bubble, and so do British Columbians. People don't get it, you know, that there's things going on here, that there are basically two parallel realities, actually four. There's the White Island, the White Lower Mainland, the White Interior, mixed in with all the new people, which is all the new people, and the young kids are all the same, not have the same interests. But then you have this other realm of the people that never surrendered to the crown. And they really have never surrendered to the crown, their spirit, their identity. No. So we have two parallel realities, and one of them is currently run by a union government that wants to build a pipeline across the same route as the Northern Gateway that almost caused violence and will again if it's tried to be built. So this is John Horgan's energy plan for the future. This is the NDP. The NDP's willingness to serve international capital, to keep on plundering the last precious part of the earth. Well, not one of the last precious parts of the earth. I'm going to have my cereal, and I always enjoy talking to anybody that I think might watch this someday. I realize these might not get watched for years. But this is the nature of the internet. It's why I contributed to Wikipedia. I'm going to do one of these to my cousin Sue about family stuff that she's mad at me about, for example. It's easier for me to vlog than write now because my eyes are going, my motor control is going, and my friend Carla is right. I was mentioning Normanna, the care home for the Sons of Norway in Burnaby, and I'd mentioned the Danish home, and I didn't know whether the Danish home also was maybe had independent living. But the reality is I do need a caretaker. I need somebody to watch over me and make sure I bathe, make sure I eat, make sure I go to the gym and don't get caught up in my work. I need a housekeeper. I'm absent-minded. I forget to go to appointments. So yeah, I do need, I guess it's now at 63, I need a care home. It'd be nice if it's PAL, but I know that Norman is nice, and it's in central Burnaby, in the Burnaby Valley with a nice view. Actually, it's sort of like up Caribou Hill, kind of. And I think the Danish home somewhere around there, maybe more Canada way, I'm not certain. And I should be living, with other Scandinavians who speak the language because, I don't want to pull my grandfather's weight in it, but I would like to learn more and meet more people from Carmoy. And apparently there is a Carmoy Logget here, which means a group of people from Carmoy. Logget's like a circle. So I've never met them. So if I get living in Burnaby, and I passed up once, they wanted me to come to a concert, and they were going to perform my grandfather's song, and maybe they was going to do it really nice, and I couldn't come. I was broke, and I was too shy to say, would somebody come pick me up? I'd love to come. But I also was very emotional for other reasons at the time. I declined. But it would be nice to hear the choir sing Midnight Solensland, which is my grandfather's hymn, Midnight, the Land of the Midnight Sun. And I'm going to learn it on piano and his other stuff. And I'm going to look up the songs that I knew from a book I had called Norgersunger. I'm going to go into my own culture as well as learn Arabic and some Farsi, and I learn more Punjabi. And one of my new kind of best buddies is Punjabi, and we don't know each other well yet, but every time we see each other, hey, what's going on? He was there tonight. Anyway, so I'm happy. I'm broke, like always, but I know how to be happy with nothing. And when I leave my house, a lot of this here is going to go to the food bank, and maybe I guess the United Church recycle, because they have a good thrift store, and I got some nice stuff from there, and I have some nice stuff that I never wear. And the less you own, people, the less you own, the happier you are. Anybody who has a mortgage has just consigned themselves to worry until it's done. And this is what the modern world has done to us by telling us we need more than we need. We don't need as much as we use. And that's the green message. It's partly also why, other than being sick, I've decided to go vegetarian. I was even looking at, canned fish tonight, this can. So I'll finish up. Maybe I'll cook the burger tomorrow and make a spaghetti sauce and have noodles for a few days. I'm slowly weaning myself off. I may not. I think the burgers I had last night may have been why I was a little queasy today, right? But maybe that's just something else. I enjoy doing this. I should have a show, huh? So this, I guess, is a vlogcast, right? So British Columbia is my home. I love my home. It's beautiful. It's hard to find a place here. And there's a whole element here that I'm just too tall a poppy for this place, And the blankets are just too wet for somebody who's as bright a fire as me. And it's been hard on me to be here. But I've broken out of that for now, right? I'm hoping that I can break out of it and maybe go, and maybe Bob in Guanajuato, he's a friend of mine who lives in New West, right? And he's also early Green Party. He's an ex-American. Bob's retired down there, nice pension, Bob, it's too late for me to go marry a señorita, I was offered one once, so the Puma, but anyway, I passed it up. Otherwise, I would have been the piano player for the Mexico City Light Opera if I'd wanted to, I was so stupid, kid. See, that's the thing. You're a provincial. You don't clue into when you're in one of the world's great cities, and you're offered to be the pianist the rehearsal pianist for the Mexico City Light Opera. And you decide that you cared about your friends in Whistler and wanted to go back. And you get back to Whistler and nobody wanted to talk to you. Nobody thought you were a freak. Those are your friends here in Canada. That's what happens when you come home, after somebody who's just offered you an amazing opportunity in a foreign capital. And I regret that decision, and one of 20, 30, 40. But I also made random choices and benevolences from Providence that come upon me, and I'm praying for one of those. I'm chancing on maybe the universe is unfolding as it should, as the desiderata goes. And the desiderata, for you younger people who don't know what it was, go look it up. And it ends in, no doubt the universe is unfolding as it should, which is a famous line from the current Prime Minister's father, who was a cad and a tyrant more than people know. But at least he was a smart cookie, and he didn't bend over for the States and do rude things figuratively speaking. He knew how to flip the finger at the right people. Unfortunately, he flipped them at the people of BC who, yeah, he kind of flipped them at the right people. Salmon Arm has never forgiven him that, though. But yeah, traveling through an elite carriage through a town that's having employment problems and flipping the bird at them from out the train window. Yeah, Pierre had problems with being low class. High society as he was, and he was high society like the Kennedys. People don't get that. So was Justin. Justin, Mr. Pretty Boy. Mr. Pretty Boy with the hot wife, who's also a star in La Belle Quebec. Yeah. The elites in Canada, they're old, man. They're old, they're old. I don't know Wilkinson's background, but BC Liberal Party, and the Tories, they go right back into the gold rush, man. Dan Marshall's got a real interesting thing about Premier Walken coming up, so I'll leave that for Dan to talk about in his own due time, but it has to do with what are called the Carnarvon terms, and Walken threatening to secede. I think it's in the 1870s, so I'll let Dan tell that story. And that's one other update. I did talk to the music department at music faculty now at UBC, to the music advisor. We had a really nice conversation. So he's going to look at my records, and I've got others to send him, and it may be that I can somehow finish my degree without any great expense, or just on, we'll see. And I can teach musical aesthetics, music history, philosophy of music. I can teach all that easily, right? As I live it, So to teach that, I don't need a degree. So I don't know. We'll see what he can do for me. Maybe I'll wind up that, hey, we've decided that we're going to give you a teaching position and we've got a place on campus for you. Shit like that can happen, right? When you ask, right? I've never asked. I've been too shy. So anyways, I've got a lot to think about and a lot of different paths to trod and other things I got to do that I think of, I've got to rate this person, I got to rate that person. I want to get these tracks. I want to make the sound like playlist of that. I got these photos I want to do, and I got to do that. Oh, so much to do, all right? So, Lord, help me navigate the whirlwind, help me surf time. Help me surf my ADD, okay? Help me just surf it all and make everything happen all real nice and smooth and easy. Won't be. But at the far end, I'll be stronger, I know. And I'm hopefully in a really nice place. And maybe somewhere somebody's watching over me, taking care of me, without bothering me. Mr. Clevin, are you okay today? Yeah, but I got to get this done. Okay, I'll call you at 3, right? That kind of attention where they leave me alone, and it's a nice place and I have people to talk to, but I can work for hours undisturbed, but somebody makes sure I eat. Because I've gone to seed here, and I was big and strong not too long ago, but I will be again, provided the right living situation. But vegetarianism should be good. More music should be good. More poetry should be good. And I'm looking forward to that piano and roll of the dice, okay? There's half a dozen nice places that if I, just apply myself, I can apply to. And it's often, it's often just about when you walk in the door. So there's a place in White Rocks, there's a Norman, there's a Danish, there's that German place up on near Capitol Hill. And others around Burnaby and around the area that are, nice, and, near the Scandinavian Center would be nice for me. And near, there's a Punjabi sweets market up on Caribou Hill on I guess it's 8th, 10th, not McBride. You go Ben left at McBride. I can't remember New West right now. Played with the streets anyway. So it's up Cumberland area. No, it's not. It's 8th then. No, it's where you get the Edmonds. Jeez, I lost my way around New West. So I've been living in the Ridge for a while. Redneck Hill, I'm calling it. But I do have friends I love here, or that I want to know more about. Right? Or they want it. That I'm glad that there's a bond and. I'd regret moving away, So, Mr. Mayor Morden, I don't know if I'm your kind of people here. I saw all you young people march in, all you preppies, nice, look like you're nice, fine young people. But I wonder how much do you care about people like me, and also like artists like me? Do you want this to really be an artistic town, or is the act just all for show? That's the big issue in towns like this, just like it is at Whistler with their cultural festivals. I got to remember to look up Paul Richardson. I'm saying this so that I remember to call Rocco, because Paul Richardson produced Whistler Mountain Fest. And I want to get in touch with First Light, which is the Jeff Don Ronnie Johnson band. They're friends of mine. I stayed with them in L.A. I wanted them to hear what I'm playing. I have to talk to who I know in music, stop talking politics to people that can't listen to me. And for the music, I got to go somewhere for the people that know how to listen to my music, because around here, no. If they haven't heard it before, they don't want to listen. I'm an old man. I talk too much. I want some cereal. I'm done. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. Big Skookum signs off. Skookum 1, the street professor. Beyond the granite curtain, behind the great firewall of Canada. About to have his cereal with, I put some berries in it. Cherries, blackberries, blueberries and stuff, frozen with milk. And the elves, they like milk. So I just want to go be elfy someday. I want to go be my magic elf. I want to dance in the woods and play my whistle. And like I say, the friendly giant, he's my cousin. He retired. Rusty, they're on me to come to work. I go, Rusty, the rooster kid, right? Ah, shit, man. You're a little long in the tooth like I am. What are we going to do, right? So I got to come up with some other little critter sidekicks. And you want to know with the friendly giant what happened to the little kids. And remember the chairs? The friendly giant was going, now we're gonna go down to here. We're gonna see these little chairs here. This is gonna be for you, and this is gonna be for you. These little chairs by the fireplace. Yeah, little miniature chairs all the time. Do you know what happened to those children after all? Come on now, he's a giant. What do you think giants eat? Oh, fee fi fo fum. People never learn. Happy Christmas. Good you. And watch out for when the trolls dance, and I don't mean the ones on the internet, right? The trolls, my giant brothers in the mountains, the Sasquatch, right? They're there. People don't get it. They're older than we are. They're far older than they know how to hide. So I should learn how to hide too. I need to become invisible again. Right now, I'm standing out too much as a child of Odin, right? Yeah, Kvasir is like Orpheus. He's the god of poets in the north. His name comes from Kvath, to speak, Kvath, say something. So Kvasir, poet. And so Orpheus, Orpheus. And they're all come from a similar root, right? And Odin comes from Ud, meaning word, right? People don't understand mythology, how deep it is, right? Tyr, I don't know actually what the root of that word is. In Celtic, it's the land, but it's not in Germanic. I'll have to look that up. Oh, it's a wonderful world. It's one of those things where I wish I could live forever so I could learn all of it. But it's on limited time right now, folks. Okay? And all the young kids, you all know it. I know you do it. They know what's coming. It's fucking scary. And all you old folks who want the old system to preserve your pension plans and preserve your property values while other people's live in the rain and kids work 2 jobs to pay for school that should be free, you're despicable. I don't care how you voted. I'll vote green if you do anything. But, if you're voting to keep your own job and to not help other people, well then, stop going to church, all right? Just stop going to church. This is, I ain't Jesus. People tell me I look like him, but I know Jesus would tell you this. Get out of my church if you're going to be like that. If you can't be kind to the poor and take care of the elderly and watch out for the children. If you can't do that, then don't call yourselves my followers. You are an abomination. See the Sasquatch. I'm just a Sasquatch. And I know this. I know what the people call the Christ. I know what he would say, but he was just a teacher. He's Issa, right? And the rest of the world knows him as that. And the West has this idea about, Christmas is a special day. Oh, come on. He was born April 4th. Something like that in the Julian calendar. I have to go. I could talk all night. It's like a fountain you can't turn off. What's inside me? It really is. So is it a disability, or is it a gift, or is it the touch of God? Which God? There will be people who say the devil. No doubt. There will be people that say other things about me. No doubt. But the danger for anybody who does that is that I'm quite capable of speaking the truth about them. And perhaps that's my major protection, is that I'm too high profile to be gone after. And too articulate. All they can do is starve me and keep me from having teeth, basically, But that may change. I don't know. It's Christmas time. Santa knows I need teeth. So we'll see. Maybe there'll be some under the tree for me, wherever that tree happens to be, on the 4th day of the winter. The 4th day after midwinter, actually. There's a certain way to put it in Norse. But that's Yule is midwinter, which is when the Lord would sit at the head of the hall. The Konungur or the Jarl would sit at the head of the hall and the warriors would beat on their shields and advance on him, beating on the shields, shouting "Yule, Yule, Yule, Yule," and then they'd drink the glug, which is like the wine. I don't know what they had chocolate in it back then. No, they didn't have chocolate in the Middle Ages. Well, but they probably had chicory or something like that. So I wonder what was in glug in the Middle Ages. That's a good project for Christmas. I don't drink anymore. But I bought a whole bunch of salads and nuts and stuff like that and dressings. And I didn't get mushrooms. They were expensive. But I'm going to make some salads to take into town, get that form I was looking at, and stop vlogging about myself and pick focused subjects. But I wanted to update about the status of the vote, and it's that how really strange it is that nobody's writing about the returns now. There's no numbers on it since Thursday. So why the secrecy? Why the deep dark secret? You see? And I don't like the way those polls were looking. It looked to me like there was organized FPTP vote getting going on. Probably organized by all that money being brought in from outside. Just like in 1983, the Ontario Tories from Bill Harris threw in 300 operatives to help out the social credits win. Yeah, it was a nasty year. That year, all you young people, all of you need to learn about 1983. Even more than you need to learn about what happened in 2001. There were dark things that happened in British Columbia's history. Very dark. Dark and nasty. Behind the Granite Curtain is going to be the name of the script. The vlog, I know, and I'm going to maybe start a second channel of that and try and do really good videos, right? I want to just use my main channel for music. It's so much work, I've got so much digital work to do with a slow computer and a house I have to move now. So hopefully the Lord that blesses me with all these gifts and makes them a storm inside me also in the middle of that storm somehow lands me somewhere just perfect. So it's the middle of the winter, not quite the middle of the winter yet, and the winter days aren't quite fully dark, and I get up and I've been only getting 6 hours sleep. My mind is too busy. Why? Amazing for a guy that doesn't get anything done. Or do I not? I don't know. I do things that I feel need doing because I know they need to get done. So they have to get done before I can do the next thing. So ADD